All right, so good morning and Yajong. This is Principal Vu, and I would like to wish everyone a happy Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So good morning, Anthony Panthers. Glad to have you here with us this morning. Asian Americans have a long and important history, a history that is often invisible and overlooked. I admire the strength of many individuals who have come before me, such as Yuri Kochiyama, Patsy Mink, Peter Yu, Philip Veracruz, Naipong Vapal, Grace Lee Boggs, Ronald Takaki, Larry Iliong, and countless others that helped shape our community today. We're going to go ahead and get going with our program this morning. I'm honored this morning to introduce you to Dr. Roy Kawai, who is the Coordinator of Educational Equity in the Minneapolis School District. So at this time, before I would like to play a little song that the Japanese class, Sensei Yuri Maximovich Japanese class made to welcome Dr. Roy Kawai before we introduce him. And I'm going to have him speak a little bit about himself. So welcome, Roy Kawai. If we were here in person in the auditorium, the students would be singing directly to you to welcome you. So thank you, and you have the floor at this time.
All right, so thank you so much for that introduction, and great deep gratitude to the students of the Japanese class. Arigatou gozaimashita, and thank you very much. I just wanted to quickly bring myself into the space. My name is Roy Kawai. I use he, him pronouns. I identify as a Japanese American cisgender male. And I use the term Japanese American very, very intentionally. My parents were immigrants from Japan. I've never lived in Japan. However, I grew up very culturally Japanese. And at the same time, I understand, looking at my racialized features and how I'm being perceived, I'm not always seen as entirely American either. And I sort of struggle with my Americanness at the same time. So I'm in this beautiful sort of third space of being Japanese American. And I have a lot of pride in that. I have some stories of kind of like of harm built within that too. And so I want to share a little bit of that with you all today, and just appreciate Principal Vu for inviting me into the space this morning. So I'm going to ask Principal Vu to go ahead and advance the slide if you can. So some quick context here for AAPI month, Asian and Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I wanted to start off with an image from an Asian American artist. And the artist's name is Shirley Chen. And Shirley created this piece called Reunion Season. And I find a lot of beauty in it, and I find a lot of joy in it too. The first component that I see there is the reunion of family and reunion of loved ones together. And this was painted to represent the first time the pandemic quarantine was lifted in South China, and when families were able to actually reconnect to each other. And so I think about Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month as a celebration of Asian joy. And I wanted to kind of like lift up that this is what it looks like, right? Asian joy looks a lot like joy for almost everyone. It's reconnecting with people we love. It's reconnecting with in being in spaces that make us happy and comfortable. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that this is kind of how I'm going to talk about AAPI Heritage Month today. And so Principal Vu, if you can advance the slide. So I'm going to bring it to myself first because I like talking about myself, but I also want to recognize that I want to zoom in on a part of my cultural and racial identity, which is my name. And so you'll see that in the very middle of the screen there's a calligraphy of my last name, Kawai. And that was actually painted by my mom a few days ago. She is a calligrapher, she's an artist, she's a sculptor, and she is also someone who I really, really find a lot of power from. So my last name, Kawai, literally means the place where two rivers meet. So you'll see the image in the background. The top kanji that you see, like the three lines that kind of come across, are meant to look like the kind of like the waves of a river. And the second character underneath it, where you see sort of a triangle that looks like a house, means the place where two things meet. So I think for me, I draw some meaning from this because when I talked before about my Japanese-ness and my American-ness, not really being in either one of those entirely, but being in this third space where they meet. And that's where you'll see this, I think I might've been in second grade there, of the picture of myself with that beautiful bowl cut hair that my mom gave to me ever since, until I was 18 years old. I'm not afraid to admit right now, but until I was 18, I had similar haircut to that, and I now take pride in that. I want to acknowledge, though, that names and heritage can be complex. So if you identify, for example, as someone who's trans, and you were given a name at birth, and that name actually doesn't connect to the gender identity that you carry now, and that name is dead to you, and when you hear it out loud, it actually brings you harm and pain, I want to acknowledge that that happens in terms of names. I also sort of want to lift up that there's a multiplicity of identities that we have. There's a lot of people in Minnesota and Wisconsin who are adopted, that are transracial adoptees from Korea, from China, that the name that was, again, given to you does not necessarily reflect your ancestry or the people that came before you. So there's a lot of complexity around our names, but for me, there's one thing that carries a lot of ancestral and historical pride and joy for me. And I want to sort of lift that up as part of my time connecting with you all today. So Mai Cheng, or if you could advance the slide, please. What comes with the story of my last name of Kawai, though, is I find some beauty in the history of knowing about where we come from, finding where my roots are, finding where who came before me. So the image you have in front of you is actually the image of two of the biggest warring clans in Japan about 900 years ago. The group on the left, you'll see, is the Heike clan. The group on the right were the Genji clan. And for decades, they were warring over who would have dominance in Japan over feudal Japan. Specifically, the domination of using the samurai sort of as the empire. My people are the people on the left. That's where my lineage comes from the Heike clan, from the Taira name. And over time, the two clans warred, and eventually the Genji clan, the one on the right, ended up defeating the clan that I came from. So my people were actually exiled from living in Japan for a while, had to hide up in the mountains, and eventually became aquatic pirates. And after a while, returned back to Japan. And if you think back to that image of the two rivers coming together, the story goes, the oral history that my dad tells me, and I choose to believe, is that a person landed in an area in Okayama that was in a land where two rivers connected, and then created the name Kauai to name ourselves to relive in that land itself. So that ancestral history, that beauty, that connection is something that I think of when I think of AAPI Heritage Month as well. So if you can advance, Principal Vu. So I do want to take a moment to pause, because beauty and ancestry and pride is a key component to me, but I also want to acknowledge that pain exists in my identity as an Asian American person. So in order to kind of describe a little bit of that and the power that comes through the pain that I have, I'm going to share with you a poem. And it's a poem that I actually wrote. I was a middle school teacher for my teaching career. And it's a poem that I wrote for my 8th grade students to share a little bit of my story, especially for my BIPOC students, to give them an understanding of sort of where I understand my own racial heritage and how that came to be. So the poem is called At My Dictation. I have not done this in a little while, so I'd appreciate any sort of empathy or patience that you have with me, because I'm gonna try to recite it from memory. At my dictation. I'm 8 years old. I've got a sweet, meek smile. I've got my basketball in hand. Looking up the rim, I grin. With grace and pride I stand. Because I'm sporting the bowl cut hair and the black sweatpants and utter concentration, I fake pivot left and smooth to the right. This game is at my dictation. Until my eyes lock with the devilish grin of the 11-year-old NTD. Because he smirks and he scoffs and he spits and he sloughs and he's gonna spit his hate at me. I know it's coming too, that's for sure, his barrage of emotional slaps. This is the 80th time I'm gonna hear, hey, slanty eyes. America's got no room for Japs. And basketball playing, Japs at that, you know you're all too short. So go back to Japan, samurai boy. This is an all-American sport. Now, how do I react for the 81st time? Without my grace or my pride, do I bow my head and close my eyes and submissively step aside? No. 8 years old, sweet meek frown, basketball in hand, looking up at the rim, I grin. It's time to take my stand. Psst, hey, little kid, my basketball beckons. Now, wouldn't you suppose that my rough rubber imprint would just look sensational on that nasty little NTD's nose? No, what you talking about, my rational brain beckoned back? He's twice your size, and it's not wise to feel the wrath of his smack. But somewhere between my body and my brain, a disconnect happened, it did, because my brain was saying, run, you fool, and my body was saying, just do it, kid. So breathing deep and shuffling my feet, I approached the giant's lair, looking at him fiercely as I gave him a glare. Cuffing my ball, gruff texture in hand, I stood but 3 feet away from that bully and his face, but I froze and I forgot what to say. But with his eyes mocking me sweetly and the flicker of his wolf-like eyes, a rage came bubbling inside me to that face that I so despised. So 3 feet away, point blank range, what do you suppose? Well, I fired that ball at full force and broke his little boy nose. Blood came a gushing, kids came a rushing from every corner around, all to see the mighty NTD topple to the blacktop ground. And in all my pain and in all my glory came but one startling realization. 11-year-old bully and racist on the blacktop ground, this game is still at my dictation. Now, I wanted to share that poem not to advocate for the way that I handled the racial violence that came towards me. As a 3rd grader, I didn't fully understand what was happening to me. I didn't understand what was happening in my body. I didn't understand why the anger that I had in me had no other place to go. The only way that I knew to bring that out, to release it, was to release it physically. And I think that happens for a lot of people, including Asian-bodied people, where the racial trauma that we endure is deep within us, but it's not given space to share. It's not given space for others around us who see what we endure to be in solidarity with us, to hold us up. And I wanted to share that story because the pain that I had at the time is still pain that I carry right now. However, the work that I do now for racial and gender justice is really my pathway towards healing. And it's also a part of my history, and a part of my Asianness is connected to that story. So Principal Vu, if you can forward me one more time. I want to call into the space very, very quickly and acknowledge that this is not a singular event that happened to me or to individual Asian people. As a collective, anti-Asian hate, violence, and trauma is being highlighted and is being heightened right now and over the past, especially 2 years throughout the pandemic. And I want to be mindful of making sure that you are aware of, that you learn about how anti-Asian racism and xenophobia has been connected to COVID and the trauma that's involved with it. So the artist that you see in front of you, the piece of artwork, was made by an artist named Sequoia Thiessen, a former MPS student, who really sort of highlights where we need to be in opposition to anti-Asian racism. And so Principal Vu, if you're there, just one last slide, please. And lastly, before I go, and I appreciate your staying with me, I want to acknowledge that I'm not just talking about stopping Asian hate. I think that has to occur. But I hope I demonstrated that in some way, celebrating Asian joy, uplifting Asian artists, all of the artists that I had on my screen, including my mom, is an Asian artist. Supporting Asian businesses, protecting Asian communities, and recognizing Asian accomplishments and lifting those up all the time is the work and the joy of Asian American AAPI Heritage Month. So that's where I'm going to go and stop and appreciate and pass it back to Principal Vu.
At this time, I'd like to just thank Dr. Roy Kauai for his time this morning. I know he was super busy. He has an event that he's also attending and being part of this morning as well too. And so appreciate his time this morning and sharing a little bit about himself and a little bit of the history as well too. So, and that was an amazing poem. And so thank you for sharing that poem with our students this morning. I know that our students here at Anthony also do poetry as well too. And that was very powerful. So thank you. All right. Okay, so we'll be transitioning on to the next slide. And so thank you and have a wonderful day.
Leaders and innovators who have helped us not only stay healthy, but also stay connected during this pandemic.
This year has been tough, so I think it's important for us to take a moment to celebrate all of the innovations that kept us safe and kept us connected with each other by recognizing the accomplishments of Asian creators. This is a sight you're probably familiar with, the N95 mask. The mask used most in healthcare settings by doctors and nurses on the front lines. It was invented by Peter Chat, who came from Taiwan to study at Kansas State University. He retired in 2018, but came out of retirement to help figure out how to sanitize N95 masks for reuse when they were in short supply due to COVID. And those healthcare professionals on the front lines. We know Asian Americans only make up 6% of the population in the United States, but they make up 18% of the country's physicians and 10% of all nurse practitioners. And this innovation you might be getting tired of, Zoom, the video conferencing platform many of us use for meetings or to stay in touch with family, was developed by Eric Yuan. His idea was shot down by tech company Cisco, so he left and started Zoom, which is now worth more than $35 billion. And to use Zoom, you need internet. Known as the father of fiber optics, Narinder Singh Kapani was an Indian-American physicist who pioneered the data transfer technology.
Let's see. All right, next, we have an amazing video put together with the help of students, families, and colleagues in the district. Please know that this was a difficult project to put together in a very short amount of time, so please have grace. There was probably about 2 hours of footage to comb through and dwindle down to 22 minutes. Many of the participants had lots to say and was challenging to figure out what to include. I hope to, if there's time, to do separate videos of everybody so that way their message was conveyed. I would appreciate everyone's time this morning to listen and to reflect on the words shared with you. Please be respectful, because it took a lot of courage for our Anthony and MPS students, families, and colleagues to entrust me to share their story. Their vulnerability is powerful and much appreciated. And I want our Asian peers and colleagues to know that their voice is important and it does matter no matter how loud or quiet. So please enjoy.
Hi, my name is Jua Yang. I'm a school counselor with Minneapolis Public Schools Online Learning and Minneapolis Academy. I am Hmong, and I identify as a female cisgender.
My name is Sylvia, and I identify myself as biracial, or I like to use the term marble, of half white and half Asian, specifically South Korean. And my role is I am a social and racial justice advocator.
My name is Han Chu. My last name is Huang. I'm born in China, so I'm Chinese, and I came to America when I was 7 years old.
Hello, 안녕하세요. My name is Ms. Mi Hyun, and I'm a DDL teacher at Hmong International Academy. I have been working for more than 20 years in Minneapolis. I enjoy working with children and teach them how to read and write. I also like to share the Hmong culture and language to any students who want to learn Hmong. I'm a Hmong woman who was born in Laos and grew up in America.
Everyone, my name is Amy Fearing. I'm the interim senior academic officer for Minneapolis Public Schools, and I identify as Korean American.
Hello everybody, my name is Shu Wei, and I'm from Patrick Henry High School. I'm the vice president for Asian Cultural Club, and my ethnicity is Hmong.
Hi, I'm Amy Yanowski. I'm a current 10th grader at Southwest High School. I went to Armitage Elementary and then Anthony Middle School before.
Hi, everybody. My name is Roy Kawai. I use he, him pronouns. I am an equity coordinator for the Minneapolis Public Schools, and I am Japanese American.
Hi, my name is Caitlin, and my name is Chloe, and we're Laotian, Chinese, and a little bit of Vietnamese, and we're sisters.
Yashong Columbia Kiliana Lo go Halu Don the Student Placement Center, how MPS school district go Haro Ya to intake specialists.
Hi, my name is Emma Chunzong. I'm Tibet. I came to Tibet to exile in India refugee.
I'm Donnie. I'm a senior at Edison High School, and I'm Asian American.
Hi, my name is Takayuki Hirata. I was born and raised in Osaka, Japan. I have lived in the United States, Minnesota, since I was 16 years old. I came here as a high school foreign exchange student and stayed for college. I then got married. I have my permanent residence green card. These are my children.
Hi, I'm Hana Harada. I'm Asian American, and my mom is American, and my dad's Japanese.
Hi, my name is Kai Harada. I'm Japanese American. At the age of 22, I have to decide whether I want to keep my Japanese citizenship or my American citizenship. I'm currently a dual citizen.
Hello, my name is Jasper Johnson. I'm the assistant principal at Armitage Montessori School. My parents came to the United States from the Philippines over 40 years ago, and I am Filipino.
My name is Katie, and I'm Asian and American. I'm a 12th grader at Edison High School.
Hello, my name is Emma Jo Johnson. I am an 8th grader at Anthony. I am Korean and Caucasian.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I am Hmong American, a mom, and a daughter of former refugees.
Hi, my name is Pallavi Wadali. My parents are Indian, so I'm Indian. And yeah, I know, right? Like, India's a part of Asia.
My name is Mai Ching Pao Vu, and I am Hmong. I'm the principal at Anthony Middle School. I was born in the Ban Binai refugee camp in Thailand. My family and I came to the United States in November of 1984.
My name is Hidasa Takada. I'm in 7th grade and I am 1/4 Japanese.
My name is Mali and I identify myself as a home daughter.
Life is beautiful. My name is Oksana Murgalieva. I'm a mother of Camille Jan Ashland, who is a happy 6th grader.
Racism is alive and well, especially during this pandemic. It is very unfortunate that we, who are under the Asian umbrella are being physically abused, emotionally, verbally abused due to something that is totally out of our hands.
It also has ruined my ideals I thought this country stood for freedom and for equality. But it has also impacted me by making me feel like I want to help make a change, and I want to help decrease and hopefully put an end to all of these racial attacks.
This past year has been very difficult for me and my family. We lost 2 brothers and 1 church member due to COVID. We're happy that we still have each other, and we also do our very best to support one another in our Hmong community. Racism is also hard for us because our Hmong brothers and sisters also face the same discrimination as other people of color.
Okay, so COVID impacted my life from as people know that when they search on websites, there were a lot of Asian people eating bats, so they thought that could be COVID, but that's not.
And so when there was a lot of anti-Asian sentiment that was occurring because of COVID, I started to feel that personally, thinking about how I might be unsafe, how my family might be unsafe. And those are feelings that I don't think I've ever had truly in regards to a national event. And so it helped to create empathy in terms of how our brothers and sisters in our communities have had to struggle, or their struggle has been ongoing, even despite COVID. But it also has brought awareness to how fragile our identities are in terms of whiteness and the structures and systems that we live within.
I was working at a job, a retail store actually, and I was approached by this person, and he said, are you Chinese? And I said, no, I'm not, I'm Hmong. And he was like, well, either way, you should go back to your own country because, you created this whole pandemic also too, which it started to make me feel that, not just, I understand that you're just a customer, but regardless, a human being should not be treated like that.
Okay, when we were with our brother at our new house when he was skateboarding around the neighborhood, I guess some 2 white kids were just saying "ooh" and I hate Asians and stuff, and a lot of racist stuff.
I have certainly felt the bodily and sort of emotional reaction that started with anxiety and fear. It moved towards sort of anger and also sitting in a place of deep sadness around the connection of how I know people that look like me and experience the world in bodies like mine are experiencing violence directly related to the connection of our race to disease. But it has also generated a stronger sense of collective desire for movement building and activism in my work.
Kiến thức sau khi từ các mối COVID-19 nó ní impact của chính nên theo họ community trong anh đâu tụ là có trình kiến kề bây giờ cho tao thì thái bé từ khen của trong theo thì thái bé chính nên của trong sắp là từ bé theo lý chỉ trong cái mình nó.
I work in Abbott Northwest Hospital housekeeping. My family and my kids doesn't COVID-19 problem. They okay.
Racism has impacted my community due to the violence and hate crime towards Asians and the teasing. And I feel angry about it because justice isn't going around for Asian Americans.
I've been told don't eat my dog, or the pulling back your eyes, or ching chong. I've heard some people say, yeah. And then this one time I was at a hotel going to my friend's room, and a group of boys said, oh, look, it's the Asian one, right? This has never made me feel good. it's always like a lot to deal with. Saying like, okay, part of my body, like my eyes, is something that people make fun of, and I've been able to get past it and be able to stand up for myself and say like, hey, you should not say that. It's not okay. And I hope other people can do that too, because if we don't confront people about these things and we don't say, hey, this is not okay, this needs to stop, now it's going to keep continuing and nothing's going to get better.
COVID has affected me and my family because we were going to travel to Japan and see my family, but since COVID we couldn't.
Racism has affected me in many ways, but one specific that I can think about right now is cuisine and culture. I noticed that many Asian cuisine and culture is not widely accepted until it has become mainstream, and then it is accepted, such as like boba and other Asian cuisines.
My parents' primary language is not English, and because of that, they really struggled to gather the information on COVID, on where to get the vaccines, on just the medical system in general. A lot of the information was not necessarily there and available to them. And then on top of that, since they're older, they really struggled with technology, something that myself and my brothers had to do to support them to make sure that they'd be able to get connected and get the appropriate information that they needed.
COVID has made it hard for my family to communicate or update about themselves because some of my elders don't know how to touch electronics, and the racism has been making it really scary to go outside alone or ride the bus alone or have my grandparents walk around the house.
I have become more conscious of my surroundings and who is around me. I am much more vigilant of where I go. I have always been aware of race and racism, but this has hit home so much more closer. It has pushed me to have conversations about race with my young kids earlier than I expected.
It affects me with a lot of microaggressions, with people thinking that I'm like super smart and that I only get grade A's when that's not the reality. And also, it's also led me to not tell people how to say my name right, because throughout my whole life, I've never really had people always get it on the first try.
I'm always feeling like I need to prove myself, especially as an Asian and a Hmong woman in the system that I live and that I work in. The increase in Asian hate in the past year and the lack of respect for our being has caused me to close up even more.
It amazes me how my mom can be Jewish and my dad can be Japanese and fight in a war against each other, and generations later have a family. With the things going on in my community, sometimes I feel a bit scared for my family because they are different from everybody else and might feel a little bit scared.
We don't want any trouble at all. It makes us scared to go out in public. Like for our elders, it scares us for our grandma, grandpa to be out there.
We are living through really challenging and painful and devastating times as I speak. And when I hear the fire trucks and the police cars and the ambulances screaming, I feel for the nurses, for the doctors, for the firefighters and the policemen who are out there in the middle of the night, and I feel the pain, I feel the grief, I feel the anxiety of all of us.
I hope that through these hardships that we have faced, not only historically, but in the last year, that we learn from it and that we build our resiliency and that we reimagine what it means to be good citizens, good human.
My hopes and dreams for the future are that people will be able to live freely without the need to feel scared or frightened for their safety because who they are and who they identify as.
My hope and dream is for all of us, meaning the whole country, to have a normal living and also to see children going back to school for learning, because I believe the learning best when they get to participate, engage, and have hands-on activities.
My dreams for the future is like I want to be a singer or a Chinese drama actor.
I hope that we can take the spotlight and the attention that has been given to the community and to really use it as an asset moving forward. I think in the past, it's been a very invisible community, only highlighted here and there. However, I think that if there's anything that we've learned from the pandemic, it's that we do have assets, we do have skills and talents that we bring forward, and that can't be jeopardized by a national event.
And just one day, my dream is to get everybody to understand our Asian community and also understand our Hmong community and how we, our Hmong and Asian community, can understand others' race and others' community too.
I hope that now all Asians can feel welcome, like everyone is equal. And I hope that people won't try and be racist and be like, oh no, I hate those people because they're Asian, but I like those people because they are nice to me or friendly.
In terms of my hopes and dreams, well, I'm interested in the arts, music, drama, directing, conducting, anything on that scale. I've been studying really hard to go to a good college. I've been looking at colleges across the country.
ภาษาเกิดโซลังชอบตัวต่อใจก้องชั่ววัคซีนจอลุซัมเมอร์นอเป้มาขัดตือรอเทลียงยีเทียชิมเกชเซงจอรเป
My hope is I came to the United States and leave my kids a good education and all community, black, white, Asian, whatever, they also stay just like stay one family.
My hope is that our youth will rise up and do better, to embrace and uplift each other, to eradicate racism instead of repeating history.
I hope for justice to go around for Asian Americans. I hope for all the violence and all the teasing to stop.
That people are able to recognize and educate themselves on what to say and what not to say, whether or not it's offensive.
My dream is eventually I'd like to live in Japan and United States. So during the winter time, I'd like to go back and live there and then come back here.
So. And my hope is that everyone will be able to see the richness and uniqueness of each individual person and live.
My hope is to go back to Japan and see my family and cousins.
My hope is that in the near future, we all learn to respect each other and allow our own uniqueness to flourish.
I hope that my girls will benefit from all this hard work that people are doing now, the people that are coming together and trying to do things to support each other so that they can live the true American dream moving forward.
My hope and dream is to have the community come together and fight for what is right in the community and for the school district to give equal opportunity and service to Asian American families.
Oftentimes, being strong and being resilient is the only choice that we have. I'm hopeful for the future because of our young scholars. They provide me with much strength to carry the burden that I carry.
To become someone who can make a change in the world, because I don't feel like I can do that right now, and I really want to, because there's a lot of people who can't speak up for themselves, and I want to speak up for them. And just for the general future of planet Earth, I just wish everything could be good, like no more global warming and no more racism and sexism and homophobia and stuff like that.
My hope for the future is to go to Japan and be able to study the culture and see how much I want to be involved with Japan when I grow older.
I just hope to be successful. I hope to enjoy my job when I get one. I just want to make life happy.
You can't ignore and rely on just somebody else. It's every one of us. It's a sacred job to bring back what we have lost, and that's the humanness.
I primarily hope that we can start building a world, a society, a community in which myself, my children, other East Asian and Asian identifying folks in connection with other folks of color are able to celebrate and love and and be our sort of our thorough selves and find joy in that and find connection in that and find beauty in it instead of it being a platform for self-hate.
Hi there, my name is Yang Lai Bang, and I am a Hmong daughter. Like, everybody was affected, but a lot of the hate and people were just like angry. It was directed towards Asian people. I really hope that one day I'll be able to open up my own business and just like be my own boss.
Hi, my name is Fu Bang. I go to Patrick Younger High School. I'm part of the Asian Cultural Club. I was a former co-president of the ACC. The COVID-19, it really impacted my education entirely, and I had to stay home a lot. And the college I'm going to enroll is University of Minnesota Twin Cities, and
Hi guys, my name is Kalu Zhang, and I identify myself as a Hmong American student. An example, I was a cashier, and like there will be customers who wouldn't want to come to me specifically because I was Asian, and they feel like, oh, COVID, Corona is related to Asian. So my hopes and dream is definitely to be successful, but I'm only 18, so I really don't know what I want to do yet or be yet, but for sure, I just want to hope that I will be successful in the future.
Hello, my name is Kabao Chang, and I am a Hmong independent daughter. So we're always scared that there might be some racism and they might like hit my grandparents, like you know how the news and stuff. My hopes and dreams is to finish this year strong and go to college and just be happy and content.
All right, so thank you for watching the presentation. A couple reflective questions before we close out in a minute here. Reflective questions: what assumptions did you possibly have that today's presentation helped to shed some light on? How did you feel hearing the stories of others? What is one learning you have from listening to the stories of others? So these are some reflective questions that I would like to ask of you as you kind of digest everything that you heard and saw today. I know it was a lot of content, so thank you for watching. And at this time, I'd like to hand it off to Assistant Principal Miller for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Principal Vu. That concludes our program for today. We would like to thank our wonderful Anthony Middle community and partners throughout the Minneapolis Public School District for helping us celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The theme was Rise Together. With the help of students, staff, and families that came together to make this program possible, I believe we witnessed that theme come to life today. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Kawai, for the education and providing those wonderful words for everybody tuned in today. We look forward to working with you in the near future. And thank you for sharing your dictation with us. That's very enjoying. Thank you, Principal Vu, for being the driving force behind this powerful event. I appreciate the clear vision that you had for this day. Thanks, folks, and let's continue to rise together. Have a great rest of your day.
Great. Take care now. Bye.